From Bob Marley to Elizabeth Taylor, 10 celebrities buried with their personal belongings, after death their favorite alcoholic drinks, signature accessories, and beloved books. Here are the items that celebrities took with them in their graves. Jack Daniels was almost a ritual in Frank Sinatra's life. It's known that the artist would drink 2 fingers of whiskey, mixed with ice and a splash of water. After his death in 1998, his family bid him farewell by sending him off with a bottle of Jack Daniels. Tony Curtis' family had a similar sentiment to that of Sinatra's. When Curtis passed away in 2010, he was buried with personal items like his iPhone, a Stetson hat, driving gloves, 7 packets of Splenda, and his medications. Having lived life to the fullest, it seems Curtis was prepared for the afterlife, even with these possessions by his side. Humphrey Bogart is remembered for Lauren Bacall's iconic line from the 1944 film To Have and Have Not. "You know how to whistle, don't you, Steve? You just put your lips together and blow." During their legendary romance, Boogie gifted Bacall a gold whistle. After Bogart's death in 1957, Bacall kept the whistle in his memory, and when she passed, she was buried with it. She had the words, "If you want anything, just whistle," engraved on it. Among the famous individuals buried with personal belongings is Roald Dahl, a giant of children's literature. When Dahl passed away in 1990, his family placed many of his beloved items with him. These included his HB pencils, a power saw, his favorite chocolates, and a bottle of red wine. As the author of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, perhaps he needed these items to continue his creativity in the afterlife. Ronnie Van Zant, the legendary vocalist of Lynyrd Skynyrd, tragically lost his life in a plane crash alongside Steve Gaines. However, Van Zant was laid to rest in a deeply meaningful way. Those who loved him ensured he was buried with his favorite fishing rod and his signature black hat. These symbolic items, reflecting not just his music but also his character, accompanied him into eternity. World-renowned conductor and composer Leonard Bernstein carried his passion for art with him into the afterlife, even with the book he chose to take. He was buried in Brooklyn's Greenwood Cemetery with the score of Mahler's Fifth Symphony, his baton, and his often-read copy of Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. The iconic figure of horror cinema, Bela Lugosi, became etched in memory through his role as Dracula. Before his death, he gave his famous Dracula cape to his wife and asked her to keep it for their sons. However, the family believed that Lugosi should be buried in this legendary costume, so they sent him off in a version of the cape. A lighter version of the original was chosen for the burial. The actual cape was auctioned in 2011 but failed to sell. Ultimately, the actor's family donated the cape to the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures, ensuring that his legacy in film history would continue. The items placed in Bob Marley's coffin contained symbolic elements from his life. While there are various speculations about which guitar he was buried with, a reliable source indicates that a red Gibson Les Paul guitar was included. Before the coffin was closed, his wife, Rita, placed a bud of Ganya, marijuana, in the coffin, which is closely associated with Marley's culture. This small but meaningful gesture demonstrated that Bob Marley carried his life philosophy with him even in his final journey. The story of what was placed in Andy Warhol's coffin is quite remarkable. Warhol's family hadn't made any specific plans regarding this. However, his longtime close friend Paige Powell stepped forward as the coffin was being lowered into the grave, and threw in a bottle of Estee Lauder perfume along with several issues of Warhol's famous Interview magazine. Throughout his life, Warhol had an interesting habit of cataloging perfumes and recalling different periods through scents. Therefore, including the perfume became a meaningful way to honor his memory. We have reached the end of our list of celebrities buried with their personal belongings. The love story of Hollywood's unforgettable couple, Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton, was legendary. While many love letters have been featured in biographies, Taylor kept one letter to herself. This was the last letter written by Burton just 3 days before his death. After returning from Burton's funeral, Taylor received the letter and kept it by her bedside for the rest of her life. Her wish before passing was for the letter to be buried with her, allowing her to take with her the final connection to her great love, Richard Burton.